What you say to yourself matters more than what anyone else says to you. So let's make those words count. Last week, we talked about using the what's important now to stay focused. Today, we're diving deeper into the voice in your head because your self talk can either be your biggest distraction or your greatest weapon. And I'll walk you through a simple P3 formula for building self talk that actually works for you. So it's purposeful, it's productive, and possibility focused. Plus, gives you examples from different sports so that you can create your own game day script. Welcome to Confident Common Clutch Car Ride Conversations. I'm your host, Valerie Alston, here to help parents and young athletes spark meaningful dialogue about mental toughness, resilience, and confidence. Whether you're headed to practice, a game, or just running errands around town, this podcast is your go-to for building stronger relationships and lifelong skills, one car ride at a time. Let's dive in. All right, y'all. So actually, the prompted this episode today is I was actually scrolling the social medias, right, doing my doom scrolling, and I came across an article about mindset. And mindset is just a piece of the way your internal talk. It's kind of the bigger picture of your internal talk. And it's Stanford mindset research that they did. And one of the studies that they did within this research was with a group of housekeeping staff. So 84 women who were housekeepers across 7 different hotels. And what they did is they split the group into two. First group was told that the activities of housekeeping, so running the vacuum, doing all the physical manual labor of cleaning the rooms, met the conditions for the Surgeon General's definition of like physical activity. Okay. And then the other half was told nothing, right? Just work as usual. And then 4 weeks later, they did a bunch of health tests on these women. And what they found is that the group that believed that their everyday physical activity was physical activity, right? That it wasn't just work, that they believed it was equivalent to physical activity, actually had changes in their physical health. So things like their weight went down, their waist to hip ratio measurements went down, their BMI went down, blood pressure scores went down. And literally nothing had changed about their physical activity. Okay, the only thing that changed was their interpretation of their physical activity, the way they thought about it. And if that can change your health, imagine what it's doing to you on a day-to-day basis as you try to perform in your sport, at school, in your job, right? The way you think, how you choose to interpret what's going on around you affects your emotions, affects your physiology, which affects health in the case of these housekeepers, but your ability to perform. And so, self talk, the dialogue in your head, how you interpret your situation and your circumstances is really important. Okay. And so, if your self talk is negative, in the sense of that inner dialogue in your head is negative in that it's causing you to either have doubts, worries, fears, it makes your confidence go down, it detracts from your focus, then it's not going to help you be at your best. And so the goal is to be as intentional as you can with your self-talk because what you think, what you believe becomes what you do and who you are. And so we want to make sure that what you're thinking and believing boosts your performance. So a tennis player thinking, man, I'm going to double fault versus thinking about, hey, smooth toss, hit the target, or I'm going to have a great day today at the court versus, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. Whatever it is, your internal dialogue, what you're choosing to think about and putting attention towards is what you create out of your life and in your performance. All right. And so there's some general criteria, there's some bigger picture mindsets that I'll talk about at a later date, but I want to get down to the individual thoughts that you have in any given moment, especially as you're trying to perform. Okay. And so what we know, there's a time and a place to be self-critical when it relates to your performance, right? When you look at a performance, there's a before, a during, and an after. Okay. Before, you want to have thoughts that are focused on preparation, getting ready, anticipating what could go wrong so that you can plan for it and overcome it. figuring out what your game plan is, right? It's very strategic. During a performance, the goal is to be as automatic as possible, not have many thoughts other than in the present moment, focus on what's happening. And then after the fact, you can be a little bit more critical, analytical about what happened, what worked, what didn't. But the utmost thing that matters is in your inner dialogue, your thinking, is that it meets some criteria that make sense for where you're at in the performance. So we're going to talk primarily about the during performance, okay? But these same rules and principles apply before or after. Okay, so we're calling the P3 criteria. So purposeful is the first thing, is that you are intentionally thinking something. You're choosing to be deliberate in your thoughts, and it's not random. You're not leaving it up to chance to whatever pops into your head. Now, there's a time and a place where it doesn't matter, right? If you're just daydreaming, if you're just hanging out with friends, okay, who cares? I mean, it still probably matters, but when we're talking about a performance moment, you don't want to leave that up to chance, right? You want to be really intentional. So if you're a basketball player at the free throw line, you don't want to just be willy-nilly thinking whatever, right? You want to be thinking very intentionally about what you want from that free throw, right? So maybe you're saying like bend, breathe, follow through, right? You're doing something intentionally in your brain that gets you where you need to be, okay? One of the most important P's, which is productive. And productive is a little bit different for everybody because we all function a little bit differently. All our brains are not wired the same, and that's okay. But essentially, the criteria for what makes something productive is that it's either building motivation, confidence, or focus. So the thing, the dialogue in your head, the thought that you're having either helps you be confident in the moment, helps you be focused on the right things at the right time, maintains your motivation or excitement. So, like last week, that could be something as simple as what's important now, right, for focus. But this could also be, if it's focused on motivation, of I got this. I've been training hard for today. Let's go. Or it could be confidence focused. I'm strong as a wall, right? If you're a blocker in volleyball or something like that. Okay. And so instead of something like, I'm so tired, right? It's probably not particularly helpful. Even if you are actually tired, maybe you're focused on, I'm going to give everything I got today. Okay. Even that small shift switches the productivity of your thinking, which is going to change your physiology, change your ability to act in a productive way. Okay. The final P is possibility focused, which is and present possibility and present focused. And so why that's important is you're focused on what's doable within your capabilities and you're not limiting yourself. Again, keeping yourself in the present moment. And so for a soccer goalie, that might be something like attack the ball instead of I can't do this, or I'm not good at diving to my right, or something like that. Okay, even if you're not good at diving to your right, you can plan for that. You can shade a little bit to one side, but thinking about it doesn't necessarily help you. So instead of, you can be more tactical, right? Attack the ball or keep them on my left or something, right? So possibility is more about what you're capable of. What are your capabilities? Okay, not putting limits on yourself. So in general, especially during performance, the type of self-talk that tends to be productive, there's two basics here. It's either instructional or it's motivational. Instructional reminds you of what you should be doing. So maybe it's a sequence of actions, maybe it's tactics, maybe it is focused on see ball, hit ball, something along those lines. Again, a hitter could be see ball, hit ball. A volleyball server, it might be toss high, snap my wrist, or something like that. But instructional self-talk is really just telling yourself, focus on what do I need to be doing. Okay. In a lot of cases, that can be really helpful, especially if you really just need to stay focused on the right thing to perform well. Okay. The other option is motivational. And motivational is really just about boosting your mindset or your energy. And so maybe as a runner, you're thinking like, I was built for this. I'm trained for this. I'm a lean, mean fight machine. I don't know, a running machine. And as a basketball player, maybe it's creating energy by, I'm the next Kobe, right? I don't know. Okay, whatever actually motivates you, gets you excited to play or to be committed to your action, to not have worry and doubt and fears. Okay. Now, you're human. You will still probably have worries and doubts and fears. You're not a robot just because you're planning what thinking you want to have and being intentional with your thinking in your head, things still happen in a game, right? You're still occasionally going to have counterproductive thoughts, and that's okay. And we talked about last week about having your reset routine, but this week is more about being intentional, is purposefully programming or planning what you want to think. And so, what I would encourage you today is to build a game day script. So, whatever sports you play, is to really think about for you, what are a couple instructional thoughts that you could use throughout a game or motivational thoughts. Okay. Either would fit, right, for you, but pick two to three phrases for you, short phrases and thoughts that you can focus on, especially if you're experiencing some pregame nerves. Okay. Or maybe you want to have a one for in-game reset or as there's pauses in the action, or maybe after a mistake, right? How are you going to come back from that mistake? So, what I encourage you to really think about, coaches and parents and athletes alike, is really thinking about the way you talk to yourself. Our brain doesn't, again, I spoke about this last week a little bit, but our brain doesn't have a mental image for don't. Okay. And this is in golf, for instance, if you say, don't hit it in the sand trap, don't hit it in the sand trap, don't hit it in your sand trap, your brain only has a mental image for sand trap. And so you're actually like creating the thing you don't want. And so we want to make sure instead of having internal dialogue about what you don't want to happen, so don't mess up, your thinking should be instructional towards the replacement behavior or what's the thing you want to do. Trust my training. Okay. And so think about that as coaches and parents too. How do you talk about? What's the dialogue you're saying? Now, an example of a script for, we'll do a hitter because I played softball, so it's easy for me. But let's say you needed a pre at bat script, right? Some things that just, hey, see it big, right? See the ball in the box, smooth and strong, right? Maybe after you whiff, right? Or the pitcher either had a really good pitch or you just missed it, whatever. Hey, next pitch, right? And so the idea here is whatever your game day script is, thinking about it ahead of time so that you don't have to think about it in the moment. And then also practicing that game day script, those thoughts that you want to have during practice. Okay? Because your thinking is something that you can also build a habit around. And the more you think in a certain way, the more you think in a certain way. And so you want to program your brain to be productive, to be possibility focused, to be intentional, right? Purposeful. And the more you do that in practice, the easier it is to do under pressure and in games. All right. And I encourage you all to really think about, how are you talking to yourself? And is it working for you? That's the number one question, right? How are you talking to yourself and is it working for you? Are you confident? Are you focused? Are you motivated? Or is the dialogue in your head leading to doubt, to worry, to fear, to being unfocused or distracted? Okay. And so you want to make sure that it's being productive. That's the most important thing. All right. So we're going to dive into some conversation. If you have an opportunity to recommend this episode to somebody, if you're enjoying it, please share it. But let's get into some conversation. All right. So again, a quick reminder of the rules. No matter what, there are no wrong answers. Take turns talking and listening. Try to minimize your distractions as best you can. And remember that you can pause after each individual question and discuss it, or just listen to all the questions and talk about what is relevant for you. Okay? So, our first question today is for the athletes, well, I guess for the parents too, and related to any kind of performance moment that you have. But what do you usually say to yourself before a game? When you're preparing for a game, what's the dialogue in your head? And what do you tend to say to yourself during a game? Okay. And do you think it's helpful or not? Do you think it's working for you or not? Okay. Question two, if you could write down your top three game day phrases, what would they be? What are the things that you want to fill your brain with to help you stay focused, stay motivated, stay confident? Parents, do you have any ideas? Are there things that you've used in the past that you've found helpful? Okay. Question three, Do you like self-talk that tells you what to do, so more instructional, or self-talk that kind of pumps you up, that's motivational? Do you have a preference? Do you find yourself gravitating towards one of those, or does it depend? Again, no wrong or right answers here, just getting you to start being curious about the dialogue in your head. Okay. Question number 4, and this is as if I was the parent asking you. Okay, so how can I, as your parent, remind you of your P3 self-talk without adding any pressure? So, are there phrases for your coach or your parents that they can tell you to remind you of having productive self-talk? Okay. And again, I would highly recommend that you guys talk about what that is beforehand and agree to what works and what doesn't. Because I know parents, parents and coaches, they want to help you. They want to help you be effective out on the field, court, wherever it is you play. You got to help them understand what works for you. Okay? Because sometimes parents and coaches, they say what works for them, well-meaning, right? It works for me, so it must work for other people. But that's not always true. All right? So have a conversation about what actually works for you, what types of thoughts. And if you honestly don't know, then this is an opportunity to start doing some experimenting. Okay? Treat yourself like a little science experiment and think about, I'm going to try something today and we'll take notes, right? See how it goes. Maybe you loved it, maybe you hated it. It's okay. But you tried it. Now you know what doesn't work. All right? So this is never a fixed end state. Your self-talk is always going to change, especially as you grow and develop as an athlete, as the game grows and develops, as you go up higher in ranks or levels. Your self-talk might have to change over time. And that's okay. As long as you understand it's got to be productive, it's got to be focused on, it's got to be purposeful, intentional, and that it's focused on what you're capable of. You're possibility focused. All right, y'all. Remember to keep that conversation rolling and let's make those car rides count. Thank you for joining me on Confident Common Clutch Car Ride Conversations. Again, if you found this episode helpful, please consider sharing it. If you are looking for more weekly tips, mindset shifts, and conversations that can help your athletes stay confident, calm, and clutch, consider joining my newsletter at www.confidentcalmclutch.com/newsletter. And if you have any suggestions for topics that you'd like to hear about or hear me talk about and discuss on this show, I would love to hear from you. There's 2 ways you can do that. You can either DM me on Facebook or Instagram at valstoncoaching, or there is a link in the show notes that you can send me a message. All right, y'all. I hope you have a great conversation, and I will see you next time.